welcome to 100 Mile Drive, and today I have a first EV on the channel, and that is 2022 Kia EV6 GT line all-wheel drive that has a 320 horsepower and 270 miles of range. Moreover, this car has 30,000 miles on the odometer, so this is a review where I'm gonna go ahead and drive it on the city streets, highway and canyon roads and tell you how does it feel to drive and how does it holding up so far with 30,000 miles on odometer. Let's find out. And if this is the first time you watch 100 Mile Drive, well, this is a channel where I say before you buy a car, sign that contract at a dealership, make sure to borrow that car or rent it from places like Turo and drive it for at least 50 to 100 miles to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel is how does it feel to drive? And if you would like to support this brand new channel that I started, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to this channel. This will help me tremendously to bring more cars on the channel. Okay, now let's quickly do a walk around of this exterior and then I'm gonna hop in and tell you about the interior quality check. Definitely don't want to miss that with a car that has 30,000 miles. Now the front looks pretty aggressive. I love these wide fenders. It does make car look kind of wide. Coming on the side, I love these 20-inch wheels. For anyone wondering, these are Continentals R45, 45 wide front and rear. The side looks pretty cool. I kind of like how Kia EV6 looks. Not my most favorite car, but definitely they did a great job. I can tell that designers really worked on it. I mean, look at all these tail lights, all these elements, design elements, this rear bumper. I mean, they've done some, time, I'm sure, drawing this car and, fulfilling their dreams, I guess. And look at this spoiler and more design elements. Looks pretty cool. Now let's quickly look at the door sound check. Let me open the door and let's see. It does look heavy. I mean, it does feel heavy. Now let me start reporting on the interior quality now. One thing I want to say, the car does have a lot of cheap plastics. I literally want to say cheap because you'll see a lot of scratches throughout the interior. And if anyone has a Kia EV6, I mean, the owner of this car are constantly putting some solution to kind of get rid of this, but you can't really get rid of all of them. They just stay throughout the cabin. Now let me hop inside and we'll show you more. Okay, and now shutting the door. Okay, so what I wanted to show you real quick, I'm sure you guys, like I said, seen many Kia EV6 videos in terms of the design language they use, which is pretty cool. Everything is pretty interestingly well laid out, and then there are a lot of cubby storage areas. I wanted to just talk about the quality of this interior, especially with the car that has almost 30,000 miles, literally like 180 miles and it'll be 30,000. So overall, like I already showed you, the door panel, it has some scratches. There's some discoloration on this. I don't even know what material this is. Feels like there's some cloth wrapped with some plastic or something. There is some discoloration here, and I feel like as more dust settles in here, this material will fade even more. There's some scratches here. To my surprise, I'm kind of really surprised why they use so much cheap plastic materials here. This is soft touch, but also looking cheap. Now, this is hard touch, but really cheap looking. Like there's easy to lift scratches on this car. For cars, 56.5 MSRP, I expected to have a lot better quality materials. Even the steering wheel doesn't look that quality. It looks fine overall, but I would expect much better materials. In terms of how everything is molded, it's pretty sturdy. Only when you bump with your foot, like into the center console, it slightly moves and you can hear some creaks while driving. But overall nothing really creaks with the car that has 30,000 miles. All right, now let's go ahead and drive it. And now driving Kia EV6 GT line all-wheel drive in the city. I'm putting the car in a sport mode. We're just gonna do a quick acceleration and braking and talk about how does this car actually feel to drive overall. All right, I'm in sport mode. Let's go. Ooh. Honestly, I'm not even flooring it all the way because that's just no way to do this. This car has a ton of power, and as you know, in EV world, you get instant torque. So power is there just at the tap. Just open the tap, let go the tap, and it's always available. All right, immediately we want to see how the brakes are, and the brakes feel pretty strong. They feel pretty strong. One thing I can tell, I can feel the weight of this car. This car is around 4,500, if not a little more, pounds. So it's a pretty heavy car. Let's do a stop here, and then we'll launch it once again. All right, let's go. Yeah, there's that electric sound, and it just takes off. The car just takes off. Feels pretty solid. So one thing I can say, the car is not loose. There's no pulling of the steering left to right. It just goes straight. And being all-wheel drive, you also don't get any slips, which I love all-wheel drive platforms. And like I said, as far as brakes feel pretty strong as well. Let's do another stop here at the stoplight, and it stops pretty well. There's slight shift forward as you brake. It shifts a little bit forward, but it's not bad. It's not something that to be concerned about or say, it doesn't feel good. Another acceleration. All right, now let's do a jump over the hump, and it's pretty comfortable. Now, one thing I was curious, taking this car, I'm actually putting it in normal mode so we can quickly talk about how does this car actually feel overall, right? I was curious, does this car feel like athletic, sporty, like a cruiser? What are the characteristics? And after spending some time with this car, I can tell you that this car more set up like a city car, like a cruiser. It's definitely not a sports car. It doesn't have any athletic characteristics of a sport car. All EVs launch pretty well. I mean, literally depending on the battery size, how many motors they put. Literally, all EVs are about the same in terms of how they launch, and they feel about the same overall. Of course, there's some suspension tuning, this and that, but nevertheless, they feel about the same. So, in terms of launching, this car has more than enough power, literally more than enough power. Brakes are able to stop this car pretty well. They're not very super strong brakes, but they do a decent job here. Also, there's no that regenerative whooshy kind of brakes. So I think most EV makers by now figured out that people want solid car-like brakes, that we don't get that regenerative mushy brakes. So overall, the car is a cruiser. Now I'm gonna go ahead and drive it on the bumpy roads on my favorite Tampa Avenue, and then we're gonna talk about suspension and steering. All right, and now driving this car on my favorite Tampa Avenue, my favorite bumpy place to test the car. And how does Kia EV6 drive over the bumps, right? Well, one thing, I can feel the weight of this car, and the overall shocks are designed here more on the softer side, and then this heavy weight kind of keeps the car very well planted. So hitting these imperfections here, no crazy potholes, but kind of imperfection on the road. The car responds nice. It's not firm, it's not soft like couch. It is pretty balanced, I would say. So spending time on beat up roads in this Kia will feel kind of nice. It does the job. I can feel the shock travels. There's no, abnormal transition of that energy basically into the cabin where I would not feel comfortable. So certainly my head doesn't feel any of these rattles. So I would say overall the suspension has a nice setup where you will feel pleasant driving this car. A lot of ladies, a lot of gentlemen who love this just calm kind of pleasant drive will enjoy this Kia. One thing I also wanted to talk about, this car doesn't feel like a crossover. This is a claimed crossover, but it certainly doesn't feel that way. It feels like a normal car. The way it drives, the way it feels. For taller guys, if you move your head side to side, you're gonna bump here a little bit. So I'm sitting all the way down, and I feel like I could have a little more room. Now, look what happened. After I started recording my reviews, for many years, this road was beat up, and now they're fixing it. I don't know if they're watching my channel, perhaps, maybe, or maybe they just, ironically enough, decided to fix this road. So now I'm gonna have to find another place to shoot my suspension test videos. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and jump into some local neighborhoods to see how easy it is to drive and what the steering like on this car. Now, in terms of steering, I would like to say that depending on what mode you drive, the steering kind of adjusts slightly. Like if I'm driving in eco mode, I feel it's more, on the looser side. If I'm driving in sport mode, it feels like tighter. Overall, it's very easy car to drive, doing your errands, driving in your, on streets, going for shopping, doing a lot of turning. This car does pretty well. Obviously the pickup is no problem, so it's easy to accelerate, easy to brake. Overall, very, very pleasant car to drive. So I kind of answered my own question, like, does this car feel any athletic? Does it feel, more like a cruiser, like a premium cruiser? And if you were to, update some of the materials in this car, add some more premium touches, which I think I've seen on Auto Show at different Kia EV6 that had much better dashboard. If we update that, then this car will certainly feel more premium than it is. The only thing that makes me feel this car is not all premium is these cheap plastics. Like, I just cannot remove my eyes from this. Like, every time I look around, I see, especially this car being on the road for 30,000 miles, some of these things showed up, right? After people spend time in this cabin, so now you can see all these scratches. But in terms of the driving, I see there are no creaks, there are no squeaks. I mean, the car feels normal. The tires feel a little bit worn out on certain imperfections on the road. I can feel there's a little holing kind of sound, and I know that comes from worn out tires. So I'm sure in a brand new set of tires, this car will even feel a little bit more, premium. So the overall drive certainly has characteristic of that premium feel, which I kind of like. So the way Kia tuned it, the way Kia trying to portray this car is something of that has a premium feel, easy to drive, easy to steer. And that's something I think they're successful in doing. So let me go ahead and hop in on the on the highway road. So we're gonna talk about the sound insulation, if this car is a good cruiser, and then a few more points. And now driving Kia EV6 GT on the highway. I'm merging the highway. I'm still in the normal mode, and of course it's very pleasant, very nice to just step on this gas and just jump in. Like, it's so easy to drive EV. That's one thing I like about EVs. Although I know a lot of enthusiasts, including myself, who has a X3 M40i, we call electric cars kind of like a fake cars, but they have their own thing, and then they're pretty good at it. And one of it is acceleration, for sure, and then having this power anytime you need it. So the first thing I want to quickly jump in is the cabin insulation. Overall, it feels not bad. It doesn't feel like really well, like it doesn't feel like very well insulated. I'll say decent enough. And then when we look at the meter, and I'm getting about 65 driving. Let me see, around 65 miles. Yeah, I'm getting around 65 overall I'm getting. So it's about, honestly, same as what I drove all other cars on the channel. Is this car a good cruiser? Absolutely. Like I already mentioned, the suspension is kind of on a balanced side. It's not soft, it's not firm. So driving this car, spending time in it for hours would be absolutely fine. The guy I rented this car from, he took it to a Tennessee, I believe, at a different state, and came back, and he absolutely loved the car. So, and I can report the same. Also, I don't get any nausea from electric cars. Sometimes you get that feel. I don't know about the rear passengers, but for front passengers, driver and the passenger, it'll be absolutely fine. I don't have that motion sickness that you can get from electric cars. Now, the other thing I'd like to do is this car overall, is it easy to overtake other cars? I like to do that test, but over here it kind of feels silly to do that test, because of course it can. It very easily can pick up speed, very torquey. It's just instantly picks up speed, and it's very easy to exceed your speed. So very easy to drive it. Now, one thing also, I talked to the owner of the car, and also I'm here to report that as far as the self-driving feature, right, it's no near close to something that even Tesla offers. Even though it tries to stay in the lane, but it can very easily shuffle from side to side, and it can even sometimes, like in California, you have a lot of twisty roads, right? Even on the highway, a lot of turning, and the car will shift to the right, and then you have to bring it to the back. So it doesn't stay well in the center, especially in turns. Like, it has a tendency to try and hit the lanes. Basically uses the side cameras to track the lines, and if it doesn't see them, then it can lose, start losing control basically. So it's not like an autopilot, it's more like just an assist, fatigue prevention. I forgot what they call it, but something that just assists you. So that's what it is. So I'm pretty comfortable here on the highway. The seats, they're not cushioned, but they're very comfortable. The posture is comfortable. The only thing, I cannot move a lot my head side to side. Like I said, I'm bumping into these handle here, so I wish there was more room. This car definitely doesn't feel like a crossover to me. It feels like a normal sedan, Grand Coupe. It's a Grand Coupe to me. All right, now let's go ahead and drive it on the Canyon. And now driving Kia EV6 on the Canyon roads. I am in the sport mode. Let me confirm that. All right, let's go. Acceleration. And I'm gonna take some turns. Not going too fast. Basically, the whole idea to see how capable the EV on twisty roads. Because I remember my Model S, my first experience with Model S, I loved the car, air suspension, until I took it to twisty roads, and it handled like a boat, which was really bad. First corner, entering the first corner. So I already drove this car here, and here's what I would like to say. This car feels the weight. Obviously, most electric cars are heavy, but that battery usually centers pretty well. So this car feels the weight. I can feel that long tail. The brakes become a little bit delayed on the Canyon roads. Like when you need faster braking power, it is not there. So there's some travel to get the brakes. It certainly holds in place. It certainly tries its best. So in dangerous situation, when you have to overtake something, you should be able to do it. But that's why I bring it on the Canyon roads, so you can experience the car and then see what it's capable of. Another corner. Now, I don't have confidence to really throw this car like more, because there's some body shift. I feel there's a car shifts the body left and right. Part of that, like I said, it's slightly softer suspension. So every time I turn, there's a body shift. Then I feel the tail. Then I feel like, I need to brake a little sooner, because the braking power doesn't feel as strong here. Slide there. Overall, not bad, I would say, but certainly it feels the weight. And then the brakes don't feel as strong here in the Canyon roads. And we're not going crazy fast. We're just trying to see how this car handles. Yeah, you can have fun with it for sure. You can have fun with it. You can certainly enjoy it on the back roads. More corners here. It's grippy. One thing, tires feel grippy, so maybe if we put in new tires here, it'll be even grippier, because I feel like it was sliding slightly because of that, because tires already worn out. They have 30,000 on them. But the way they tuned the car, I don't feel anything dangerous. Let's just say that. The platform feels pretty stable overall. I don't feel any shakes that sometimes electric cars have in the corners. There's slight shaking there, but it's nothing abnormal. It just kind of shows that, hey, here's the limit. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied. Like, this is the car I would be okay with driving, and I would be okay with, you know, taking on some dangerous situations. All right, so my demo here coming to an end. This is a park here, so we gotta slow down. So I hope you got some glimpse. Basically, I keep saying this on all my videos: bring your car to Canyon Roads, because that's where your car opens up. That's where you get to actually see the character of your car, and that's where everything is put to the test. Like, the brakes opened up in this test, suspension opened up more in this test. One thing that never fails here is, of course, acceleration. Acceleration is just instant power. Everything else felt kind of stressed out. So this car is certainly not for cornering. This car is a cruiser, is a fine, comfortable cruiser to enjoy, you know, driving it in the city, highway, and occasionally you can take it to the back roads. But it's not athletic. Like, for people thinking, okay, maybe this car has some athleticism to it. For example, like, I'm curious about the Ford Mach-E, right? How did they do there? Never driven that car. I'm thinking that car might have more sporty character to it. Something I'm hoping to bring to the channel. So let me go ahead and summarize this, and I'll tell you what my final feel score of Kia EV6. Alright, and this concludes my dynamic drive of Kia EV6. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this car. It showed its character. What I wanted to know, is this car athletic, sporty? And my answer is no. This car is a nice, comfortable cruiser, which is very confident in what it does. So if this is the car you're looking for, you'll be pretty impressed with how it overall drives around the city and highway, and occasionally you can have fun with it on the back roads. Now, how does this car feel with 30,000 miles? Well, except this cheap plastic quality that I hope they improve their materials, and maybe they already did. Like, I think like I said, I've seen on the LA Auto Show much better materials than this one. So except that part, otherwise the car feels good. It feels premium. I love the suspension. I love the acceleration. It has plenty usable power. The only thing, this car is definitely not for canyon roads. It's not a sporty car, but it has some characteristics where you can have fun with it. So I hope you like this review, and my final feel score for this car is 7 out of 10. And if you want me to bring more EV products on the channel, like I want to drive maybe Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the 6, let me know in your comments, and subscribe to this channel. This will tremendously help this channel to grow and bring more cars for you guys. And talk to you later.